My new book is about the race to extract what's left of the world's resources. And in particular, it's about the assault on the world's last resource preserves, the Arctic Ocean, the deep oceans, parts of Africa and the Amazon that have been largely untouched up until now. So it's about the invasions of these last places and the competitive struggle to reach those places and extract what resources are left. Mainly energy, but also minerals and rare minerals, not just copper and iron, but also things like platinum and lithium and things like that. But on another level, it's about a pivotal moment in human history, which I think we're at, that we are reaching the end of the world's available resources. And if we don't start planning for a planet that is empty of these things soon and to begin to develop alternatives and renewables, we're going to be in deep trouble. So it's about both of those things. As I've said, I'm interested in peace and conflict issues, and in most of the many decades I've studied this, my interest has been on the arms trade, the trade in conventional weapons. And most of that time it was during the Cold War, so the financing of arms was handled by the superpowers. The US and the Soviet Union gave away weapons to curry influence in what we call the Third World in those days. But when the Cold War ended in 1990, early 1990s, that no longer worked. So the arms sellers and the arms buyers had to find other ways to finance arms, and mainly it became resources, either legally, selling oil and copper to pay for arms in the Middle East, or illegally with diamonds. We all know about blood diamonds and blood minerals and timber in many cases. So I got very interested in the connection between the resource trade and the arms trade. One thing led to another. I got drawn into the field of resource politics, and that's what I've been following ever since, because I'm really convinced that the pursuit of resources, especially in the developing world, often leads to conflict of one sort or another. One thing that's struck me in my research is that historically most of the conflict over resources has occurred on land. People fought over boundaries and colonial territories, but now most of the on-land resources have been depleted, and the search for valuable materials, oil and natural gas and even minerals, has moved offshore. And it turns out that a lot of offshore resources are contested in the East China Sea, in the South China Sea, off of the Falkland Islands, in the Arctic Ocean, in the Caspian Sea. There are many offshore resource areas, very valuable, that are the source of intense conflict and friction. And we don't yet have a foolproof system to resolve these disputes. So I see the negotiation, the management, the adjudication of offshore resource disputes as a major challenge to the research community and the international community in the decades ahead. Something else that I believe will be a source of concern in the years ahead is China's growing demand for resources. And when days to come, also India will increasingly follow the path of China in going out, as they say, pursuing resources, minerals, food, energy in places like Africa and Central Asia. And I think this could lead to a lot of friction as those countries get involved in local conflicts, where state-owned companies from China and India struggle, compete with the United States and European and Japanese companies for access to raw materials. Governments get involved in this. The governments bring in arms transfers as a way of seeking close ties with resource-rich governments, like in Mongolia, where China is competing with Russia and Japan, all trying to get their hands on Mongolia's resources. Same thing in Afghanistan. This could lead to a pouring in of weapons and military assistance to these resource-rich areas, stirring up conflict and leading to future clashes. So I worry very much about this growing global competition for the remaining resources in those parts of the world.